Okay. No.
I haven't seen the very first tutorial ever, so I'm kind of excited about this. To be completely honest with you. Joe, the output has been messed up. Somebody joined the chat. Someone joined. Whole armor is here.
Hello, gentlemen. what I messed up the rotation. I got in the middle of the puff pass rotation.
I blame you. I blame you.
Oh, I don't have my webcam up. I'm sorry. I thought this was the... Oh, sorry. I'd have messed up the set. Okay, all right. I'll talk with y'all later. My bad.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Oh man, you were that close to being cool. Fair enough.
Go ahead, Sue.
I don't think my thoughts have changed much since last time, to be completely frank with you, Joe. It's basically, I love the patch. I'm loving what the direction they're heading into. Loving what I'm hearing. When I played the PTU, it's smooth. But I'm hoping it will remain smooth live launch. I'm planning an org event to go see Fleet Week, to go see the new stuff. I'm hoping the game can hold together for that. I want to be so excited for all these really cool new features coming out, but I'm so worried.
Seeing is believing.
Yeah, like I am worried, but it's not like it's not founded worrying, but it's not unfounded either. If that makes sense.
Yes. I'm gonna. I just wish and hope that they do not wait till Thursday to drop this. I would like to see it tomorrow or Wednesday. I hope.
I am
I'd rather it be 2 days before than on the day. Just being honest, because we've seen what happened. Okay. Um. Well, I'm. I do have to say this. Friday night when they dropped that patch in the PTU and they put out the Fury for everybody to see. I did lose frames and I had stoppages in the server that I was on. But it recovered. Yeah, but it recovered. But you had a whole lot of people in yours, right? Okay. Okay. I had some major issues with frames where it did stop and then it would catch up and things like that. So I don't know how many people were in the server at the time, but it was still a good experience. I just hope that because they put some hot fixes in over the weekend and then they did a build today with the hot fixes implemented. So we'll see. That's all we can do. That's all we can say. But 319 for me has been a dream. There have been some issues, of course, but it's good. And I agree with Zook that it's 100 times more stable than we've had for the past few months.
But you give it that free fly, and it's just I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. It's a whole different it's a whole different animal when the free fly comes.
For
Yeah.
what it's worth, I think the better telling question about your thoughts on it would be, and I already know the answer to this question myself, but I want to get y'all's opinion on this. If you had an IRL friend who would be interested in this type of game, would you be pestering them to join 319 during Fleet Week?
I don't pester anybody.
Because of the bugs? Yeah, so that's mhm. Well, that goes back to the core of the question. Is like, at this point in time, if 319 performs as well on live as it has been on PTU, would you politely ask them to go for another one? Yeah. So this free fly is not an option for you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
Um,
Yeah.
I do tell people when I do play, and even when I do a video, that it is a rough experience if you come in on a free fly. Free flies are the hardest time to check out this game because there's so many people. If you're going to go on a free fly, go to the least populated area. Do not try to spawn in it in the area where the event is happening because it's going to be rough. Go to a planet that's not involved with the event and then make your way to the event. But
Mhm.
it's rough. It's rough. I mean, I start when I started, IAE was running and I was on Lorville and I flew to Microtech. And man, it was bogus because I didn't know all the particulars about kicking up the graphics card or anything like that at the point in time. So it made it hard. But once I got that information, it was a hell of a lot smoother. But I just don't recommend anybody if they come into the game, don't spawn at the place of the event. Yeah. y-
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, well, if if they wanted to do that, because once you finish the tutorial on Bajini, your ships that you pledge for are unlocked, and you get 15,000 in UEC. So you have the option to go back to Area 18 and enjoy the event, which is not a bad thing. But I'm just letting people know now you're going to encounter a hell of a lot of rough time in there, maybe during the event. Yeah, hopefully not. Yes, yes. Hmm.
Slightly disagree with you guys on this one. Like we know that has been bad. We know that free flies tend to be exceptionally bad. Uh, and for a lot of casuals, I would completely agree. Don't ask me. But there's a couple people that I'm aware of that I know that has played like other games or similar games, like Elite Dangerous, and have really enjoyed it. And I think would get a feel for, even if the game's buggy, would get a feel for what they're trying to do in the game. Who would appreciate the concept of like getting a bunch of people hopping on board a ship and crewing a ship. Just even if it's just for the flight to the event, and then we're get a kick out of walking around the event. Yeah. Here's the thing. In the previous patches, when we had those free fly events, and even in 3.17, I would invite them. I wasn't bugging them, wasn't asking them to come. This one, especially if day one is decent, I would start. I'm coming around to the point where I'm seriously starting to consider inviting them into the free flies again. So,
Right.
I'm again. That's my hopium, or copium, or however you want to call it. Activating, but it is what it is. That's where I stand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody's saying they can't hear you, Joe.
YouTube.
There. Can you hear me? Oh, shit.
You're very quiet, Joe. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm very quiet right now on this stream.
You are, yes.
I hear it just fine now. Okay. All right. Hi. No one could hear me this whole time. That's great. Lovely. That is fixed now. All right. So I'm all messed up now. Yeah, I was just saying how I think, to kind of backtrack a little bit on what I was saying. I was saying that I think the end of the year is going to be really hectic, and that Invictus is going to be my trial run to see if I would invite anybody and if events would go well. And if it does, I would consider bringing them in towards the end of the year, because that's also supposed to be the most exciting, because we're supposed to get some pretty big stuff at the end of the year, assuming things go well. But at the same time, that's probably going to be the worst time to bring anybody in, maybe, because considering the things that they might be getting in by the end of the year, there could be some performance issues.
I'll say this much: the Fleet Week is one of the easier free flies on the game, just because there's not as many objects, especially with PES. There's not as many objects floating around at the same time, right? There's no massive casualties or massive dead ships. There could be. People could be renting a lot of ships and just causing a mass mess, but that's not guaranteed. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
I think each event is always a little bit different every year on how it goes.
Yeah, that is true.
Well, since no one could hear me earlier, and we finally got a couple people in, so welcome to the Snowboards, everybody. We're going to be talking about, well, we just talked about some 319 stuff and where we think events are going to be going. We're going to talk about the MiraI manufacturer and the Fury. And then we're going to be talking about some news we heard about Outposts, and also watching something very interesting today, the old tutorial that Arena Commander used to have 7 years ago. So, yeah, I think we're all excited to see that.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, most people haven't seen it. that's why I wanted to bring it up today, because I think it'll be kind of a cool little thing to gauge where things were back then. Completely different game. And yeah, and also I have it up right now, the Inside Star Citizen, which we're going to start off with here. So I'll go ahead and start it. You guys let me know if the video is too loud or too soft. Let me just double check. Okay, cool.
Populating the surface of Star Citizen's planets and moons is no small endeavor. From the tiniest of easy habs to the largest of landing zones, creating new places where players and NPCs alike can gather to buy and sell, collect and trade, create and destroy, oh my, is essential to our continuing efforts to expand gameplay opportunities within the persistent universe. And with the upcoming Alpha 320, members of the Montreal Sandbox team are doing just that with the newest edition of Derelict Settlements.
Since the last time we talked about these derelict settlements, we've been progressing quite well. We started with maybe one settlement last time we spoke, and now we're up to about 15 fully fleshed settlements with a unique look, narrative, and theme around them. The longest part is just finding a theme and then scouting these really epic locations throughout the maps, throughout the planets. And then we try and match the theme. Okay, what theme fits with this location? Let's say we're looking at cool mountaintops with really nice vistas, cool sunsets that are like on the side of a lake or a river, or just a little like a water source on the top of the Alps with like snow and everything. So we come up with these themes, and then we come up on the side with these really cool locations, and then we just like, okay, what can we match together? Let's find a cool name with them, and how do we make these unique settlements? You could easy see yourself like spending your life with your wife or your husband or whoever you want to play with, and just take it easy.
Something I want to say, right? And we had this is something I brought up last time we all watched this together. I don't know what day that was, but
It was the day of.
oh, was it the day of? Okay.
Yeah.
Where I brought up the thing, and I've noticed a lot of other people have been saying the same thing, but I've kind of like come to a different conclusion about it. That's why I'm bringing it up. Everybody's kind of saying like, why are we getting so many junky places like littered around Stanton? You know, and I was making the comments like it kind of doesn't like fit. Like why wouldn't they be making anything else or whatever? And I kind of thought about it a little bit, and I realized that it's only just because they're focused. Like they just got the assets done for the derelicts itself, so of course they're going to be focused on that and getting them out first. And later on, we'd be getting more different kinds of actually like nicer outposts that aren't derelicts and stuff like that, and actual buildings. So,
But you and I had talked about this too. What they're showing is part of the lore.
yeah, I remember you saying that.
I mean,
I
go ahead.
think it's more simple than that, to be completely frank with you guys. We've been saying for a while now that whenever they build these stations, whenever they build these the wrecks, the places where you can find wrecks, the derelict outposts they've been so far, they build one or two or a handful, and they build 30, 40, right?
Yeah.
This looks like to me they want to build derelict outposts that are inhabited, that are usable, that maybe they may have a trade terminal or an NPC mission giver.
Yeah.
And they have to build the environment. Well, they have to build the background tool that will automatically create that environment, potentially on the fly, make it easier for the designers to build them on the fly. And I think they go a little bit deeper into the story or into this video, but they're saying, in this kind of an ice environment, what kind of asset do we need? Mountain environment, what kind of asset do we need? So I think what they did is they went through and say, we need to find, mountaintop, field, oceanfront, lakefront, we need to build, a huge variety of locations, and then just make outposts that match it, so that we make sure we have the game assets, so that we can make them on the fly a lot quicker later on. I think what we're seeing is the output of them building the tools, like the backend tools.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
I kind
so
of
like
that's
they're-
kind of
they're-
where
they're-
I was going with what I said as well.
like they're building these tools because they're building Pyro. Pyro is the next one, right?
Hmm.
So now they have, Rex, derelict outposts, derelict, I guess you could say villages to some degree, and you might even get a derelict city after this, right? Those concepts, all the way from like their earliest phase to the latest of a build up.
Yeah.
And then once those are done, then they'll move on to, a proper colony outpost or outpost village.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
whatever it is. Like those are. I feel like those are coming, but they're working on derelicts because Pyro is all derelicts.
No, it's not. It's not all derelicts.
Uh-huh.
No. There's going to be derelicts there, but it's not all derelicts. We'll kind of go into that too, but they've showed off legit outposts that they have up there. I mean, they're a little run down. So what they said was they're going to have like the outposts that we see in Pyro, they're hundreds of years old, so they're a little run down, but they're not going to look like this, like all rusty little, piles of junk everywhere kind of thing. Not like a big junkyard or something like that out of scrap. There are going to be some of those, but there are going to be the next level after the derelicts are the actual outposts, like run down outposts. And then we'll go into that kind of in the end of the video because there's more I want to talk about that. There was an interview done at Con 42 that kind of goes more in depth on like the way of thinking when it comes to the outposts and what's next.
That's kind of what I was building on to. It's these this is the derelict versions of all the different levels of population centers.
Yeah.
Right. So this Pyro is all derelicts of whatever it is. Right.
Yeah.
It may not be a crash site. It may not be Shantytown. But at the same time, it's going to be a derelict of some kind. Whether it's a derelict of a space station, a derelict of a large outpost, a derelict of a city.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be derelict of some kind all over Pyro. So
okay,
they're working on derelicts in general. That's the different stages that they're working on.
Yeah.
Because that's what Pyro had.
Okay.
Sorry if I wasn't clear about that.
No, you're good.
No, you're fine.
My third favorite settlement would probably be the one beside the lake. It's a small settlement, as if like one person had a small little ship. He was by himself. They landed in the woods, but near enough to a little lake. And he's like, I'm going to make this little, almost like a fishing cabin on the side of the lake and live this super peaceful life. It has a few little tabs that are just like basically for shelter for like shaded areas where they maybe has a little workbench or a little table that they're making like crafting elements. He also built like a little dock so he can like maybe fish there at night. We planted a couple.
And you see when they're making this kind of stuff, they're thinking like way out in the future with like crafting and like fishing and stuff like that. We saw that they are making fish.
Yeah.
They do have like the basics of fish that they're working on, that they showed off not too long ago. And they have said in the past they do want fishing. So yeah, we'll see.
Couple little harvestables as well along the coast of the water. He has his little house to himself. He builds it as he wants. Maybe players can come and visit, but it's like a really social kind of small little settlement where I could definitely see myself living if I crash my ship. That's what I would probably do. Just make my one little shack and build a little dock and just look at the sunsets at night kind of thing. The next most visually advanced one, we nicknamed it Cable City. There's a lot of wires, so they connect a lot of the solar panels, the windmills to all their habs. It's like overlooking this really cool lake down below. So we thought like it would be a good idea to bring like the humidity aspect into it. So the terrain, we tried to make it a bit more muddier. We had like tracks of vehicles that went by. The terrain is just a lot more worked, a lot more detailed. So it just makes it feel like, yeah, the people are working there, or there's vehicles going by on a daily basis. They're probably scavenging like a ship that's nearby. We haven't really placed a ship for that one, but like it just storytells really well. Yeah, this a really badass vista with the clouds and the lake and the fog that lifts up in the morning.
Something I want to add is, along with these new locations that we're getting, hopefully soon, there has been, when they did the update to Loreville, they updated the rest of Hurston as well. And I don't know if you guys have seen them yet, but they actually have like these big acid areas, like different biomes of like acid. And like the acid lakes aren't really there, but like the whole area for it is. And they talked about in the past, when they were talking about caves, they were talking about having like caves that are very acidic. So I bet here soon at some point we're gonna get those acidic caves there on Hurston. I think giving them the different acid biomes like that, I think, is like prep for that.
Well, they said that I believe it was ISC that they were going to add those as they went along.
Yeah.
So definitely they're coming. Yeah.
It's just a really nice one that came together super quick and super well. So I'd say that one is probably the second most fleshed out that I really like. The kit and all our object containers have been growing exponentially, which is making our work a lot faster. We're a bit more efficient, and we can use our Rastar tool to populate these settlements a lot quicker. We're building these kits as we go, so like every new settlement or every new theme that we find that we're missing little elements for like pathways, some visual keys that makes them a little bit more unique. So as we go, we're increasing the size of the kit because we keep adding a couple more
here
per settlement.
So if you look right here, this is what I was saying earlier about there being in different levels.
Yeah.
These look like storage containers that an outpost would have to store fuel, whatever they need.
Yeah.
Right. And you can tell this is their library of stuff that can be plugged into, as I said, the Rastar tool.
Yeah.
And like this stuff would not have fit at a crash site, but it was needed for these type of small villages. And I don't know. I do like the fact that the first time we're hearing about it, they already have the tools for it.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about before about the speed of development that we have for wreck sites, derelict outposts, that kind of thing. The first we've heard about it, we're seeing it, the toolbox largely full. So this is incredibly fast and incredibly encouraging for me.
I don't know if they said it yet or if they're about to say it, but they said something along the lines of what'd they say? That they can make these now, like they can make a derelict outpost in like 2 weeks, I think they said, which is incredibly fast. Yeah, it's amazing. Now it seems like they only have assets for the derelicts at the moment. You know, they might have some asset. They might have assets built for other different types of outposts and stuff like that, but nothing as fleshed out as this, where they have a little bit of everything from like the different sizes, like you were saying, Zook, that kind of fit in every little situation. So probably end up having to go through and add all that in for the different types of outposts too, like you were saying.
Weird thing was for the derelicts, let's say when Pyro's out and all the levels of populated derelict facilities is finished or mostly finished. When they go to the next level, maybe a wealthy outpost or a moderate income outpost or a brand new outpost with the latest technologies, right? They already have essentially the palette that they need to fill in for that work. So, like for example, if you look here, you have a water container with a box with some other side pieces.
Yeah.
Water container with a box with a little bit more mud and dirt, right? They already know these are the different varieties that they have to have this type of or this purpose of an outpost. Now they just have to have those elements for these different classes. Class wealthy,
Yeah.
alien tech potentially, right? So once they go through all these levels with derelicts, because they need them for pyro, it will happen even quicker for a origin class Vista outpost, right? Where one wealthy guy owns an entire small compound next to a lake because he's friends with some Yi guy, right? So it's very encouraging that they're looking at it as a palette, if you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they need to be able to just, they need to make a bunch of these, and they all have to seem different in some way. So the easiest way to do that is to take a bunch of the same asset and then change the colors around a little bit, and then maybe change up the dirt, like you were saying, and then maybe add a box or two here and there, and then maybe change the position of a couple things. And it's essentially the same thing. It's just rearranged a little bit differently to give you different experience. And kind of thinking about it now, they did show a lot off of the nicer outposts that aren't derelicts. And I think since they are coming with pyro, they might actually be closer to being done with those than we think. They might actually have something like what they have here with the derelicts all fleshed out in the Rastar tool for pyro. They just haven't really showed much of it, because in the past when I'm thinking of what they showed off, it seemed like they did have, at least in the art, they had a lot of different variety in different sizes, much like they had here. It just wasn't shown off in the Rastar tool. So now, since I feel like it's been long enough, they probably could have been pretty close to being done with those nicer outposts.
It wouldn't surprise me if they got put on the back burner. I'll be honest with you.
Why? That's like a main feature of like pyro.
Maybe a worn down version of them, but a nicer, newer version, that's not really needed for pyro.
So I'll kind of I disagree with that. I think because they said, what CIG have said in an interview recently was that pyro, coming with pyro, is those outposts, right? And what I mean by nicer is that they're not going to be shiny, but he said that essentially all the outposts that are in pyro are going to be hundreds of years old, and they're going to be a little bit worn down, but it's going to be like similar to the ones that they've shown off before, like during CitizenCon the other year, where you're going to have different ways of sneaking in and that kind of thing, and you're going to be able to like buy things from inside there. Either you could buy it or you could steal it. But yeah, they're going to be different versions of those, and maybe smaller, populated around pyro. And he pretty much said that once pyro comes out, that's when that type of outpost will be available to be put like in Stanton and in other locations. So he said that those outposts will be coming with pyro itself, and that's the wording that he used was definitely like alluded to the fact that those outposts are not coming to Stanton until Pyro gets in. And then after that, he kind of went into player owned outposts and stuff like that, which I won't talk about that yet.
Opinion, because I haven't heard this one yet.
What was that?
I was want to finish up the ISC before we get to that topic.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like I'm not gonna say anymore until we get done. So
yeah, so no, perfect. I'm just like I was.
I'm not getting there. Don't
I like
worry.
what you were saying. I like what you were saying. I'm just.
All right. All right.
As these settlements grow, we get to also share with the new settlements that come in. So we're able to do really small settlements, but also go into these really, really large settlements where it's almost like fortresses or small villages. But now we have some that are like fully fortified. We have added gameplay like where we can play King of the Hill. We got other ones with like turrets, defense walls, security gates, but everything's still in derelict kind of shape, a bit more like Mad Max, where it's not abandoned, but like they use ship parts, and these things are still decaying over time through the harsh weather conditions on these planets. These settlements that have been like there for like 100 years. Others that maybe the spaceship just crashed and like they just started building a village for the last couple of years. Some people would make something that's a bit more fortified to defend against nature and all the elements. Maybe some people would make like a bar just to invite their friends over, expecting to be rescued soon enough, I guess, or within the next several years. So we have like a bunch of farms, we have greenhouses, we can have like hostile, and we can have also just social settlements now with a lot more assets to play with. My favorite settlement or outpost that we've created so far is the one deep in the forest. We nicknamed it like Ewok Village. Basically, you crash in the forest, so you're using all like what's around you, the elements. So there's a bit of lumber. So we're bringing a bit more organic feel to this settlement. I could definitely see myself building a nice little town in there that's nice and protected. It has these little half barricaded walls made out of lumber, and it has all these drapes, these fabrics, these tarps that are playing in the
made out of lumber. I missed that part last time I watched this. So we're actually gonna have assets made out of lumber.
Well, that goes back to like they picked up a bunch of different biomes to make the pallets for them.
Yeah.
Right. And part of being the forest is the assets for that pallet probably include wood.
Yeah.
In the wind. We have these old windmills that are in the background with fields of crops that they grew, but also it's...
I like that. I didn't see this before either. I like that they're playing with the terrain a little bit more now, and that you could see some of the greenhouses are like kind of nestled in between the little nooks of the ledges there, with the irrigation system kind of going over top and stuff like that. I think it's really cool. They're finally...
Do you think that ground was just that way, or
no,
did the Rastar tool have the ability to cut into the ground?
That's what they said at Con 42, is that there was a question that was asked about players' ability when we get the Rastar tool, will we have the ability to affect the ground like that? And they said only when placing assets like this, it will cut automatically into the ground for that kind of thing. When placed down, you won't be able to do that manually or anything like that with like a multi-tool attachment.
Damn.
That would be cool though. I think maybe crashing into the ground with your ship should be able to do that. Dude, that'll be the workaround. Just get an 890 jump and have it crash right directly into the ground. That way you get a nice little pit going for something.
I don't know. I think it would be a good idea. Again, without getting too far to do it deeper later. No, I'll save my thoughts for a little bit later. It's fine.
Shadow, okay? I think you fell asleep there.
It's
Okay.
a bit of like
fell asleep.
overgrown vegetation at the same time, because it's not like lined up perfectly. It's just like this little savage garden that you can pick some berries to survive or whatever. You have these big greenhouses during the winter season that you can actually grow stuff. You can also use these as harvestables. The player can go visit the greenhouses and just pick some things and add it to his inventory. And we really customized the art direction for each angle.
Shadow! Shadow, get up! I can't take it. I'm going to sit here and stare at Shadow the whole time. Shadow! You okay, buddy?
Yeah.
God damn it. All right.
I want to say, right there, the words he's using about, going there and taking these plants and collecting the harvestables, right? That's in a game, talking about things that are coming up next. And
I don't know.
That goes to well, here's the thing. That's all about the building right now.
I think, well, they're placing assets. This is what I think. I wholeheartedly think that they're placing assets that they have, right? You're not going to be able to interact with them now or anytime soon. I really don't think it's coming anytime soon. I think when they made these, they're talking like this is something like a lot like the whole crafting and collecting of things. And like
pie in the sky, this is what we want to happen.
Like the fishing thing, like obviously we're not getting fishing anytime soon. There's no way that's a priority. But he's definitely.
I'm thinking
they're talking like Chris Roberts, where they're like, "Wow, like, they were giving the project of making one of these derelict settlements, and they're like, think about the future when you make this." And I feel like that's what they're doing.
Fair. Just the similarities between that kind of gameplay loop and the Endeavor, that looks and feels very, very similar to me.
Whatever you're going to be able to do at Outposts, it's the same thing as the Endeavor, because the Endeavor is a floating outpost, Yeah,
essentially.
So whenever, I think that we will get those mechanics first at the Outposts, and then it'll kind of move to stuff like the Endeavor. But it's a good start. I think whenever we do manage to get those on the ground, that's kind of an implication, or we can imply that stuff like the Endeavor might be closer. It's at least doable, so they would be able to work.
That's still at the very minimum. That's still the direction that they're heading in.
Yeah. So it's good. we're losing Shadow again.
No, you're not losing me. I'm just tired.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's why I got my coffee here.
So when the player approaches the settlement, we really have like either a big ship carcass that you can actually like go through, and then it showcases like the whole settlement to the player's eyes. And on the other side, it just shows like different elements and different little hubs in the areas. So like, okay, this is the farming side of the village. This is the more like the town hall, or like this little bar side. We have like really nice paths that are developed. When there's mud, we put like little metal plates and panels so that the player, like, you can tell like it's clearly a path. And we define the main player paths, so it's a lot easier for the players to navigate, find like the lootables. So it just feels a lot more alive, this one, because we spend a bit more time. And this is basically our benchmark that we're aiming for. So it would be the forest settlement, my favorite. So yeah, that wraps it up pretty much for the settlements where we're at. They're evolving quite rapidly now with our new systems and our new tools. So we actually reduced the size of the team because we don't need as many artists, just because our kit is actually quite large now. So with just a handful of artists, we can really produce like a lot of settlements within a couple-week period.
There you go.
I'm super excited to be able to show the players and share the awesome art that we've been creating over the last several years, actually. And yeah, I'll see you on the other side. I'll see you in the verse. Have a great one.
All right, I'll pause it there. Oh man, that was pretty good. I enjoyed this one, but right after this, they're gonna go into the manufacturer for the MiraI. So before we go and finish the video and go on to a whole different subject, let's finish off the Outposts here. So I'll kind of bring up what they talked about in the interview, because it does have to talk about the Outposts. So what they essentially said was that with Pyro is going to be coming the next evolution of outposts aside from derelicts. So hopefully we'll be seeing them in Stanton right after Pyro starts coming out. Then we can start to see those specific outposts coming and kind of start populating Stanton too. They said that the biggest takeaway here was that after that happens, there's going to be they're going to look at those outposts being able to be created by orgs. That would be the next thing that they think about, and they're going to start. They said that they're going to start small and work their way up to larger structures for orgs to be able to take care of and own. But they said directly after Pyro is released, that's when they're going to be thinking about that and start doing that. So I thought that was really cool. And that kind of goes into what we were talking about, Zook. So they said that the outposts are going to be hundreds of years old, and those are going to populate everything, and they're going to save the new and shiny, like very nice looking outposts for us. So those are the new and shiny places that get placed around Stanton and Pyro are going to be the ones that are actually created by us. So it seems like that they're not going to be focused on making that themselves as preset places and locations for us, that we're going to be doing that.
And that makes sense that they're building basically the palette for those facilities, so that all you have to do now is, as far as the makers, the artists on the back end, as he was saying, make the palette for us to use to make the facilities. So they wouldn't have to make the facilities themselves.
Yeah.
The entire individual facility.
Yeah.
But they still have to make the palette for us to use. And that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
That's encouraging.
Yeah, it was exciting to hear them actually talking about it, and that we actually have some sort of loose timeline of when we could possibly expect it. You know, it still could change depending on priority shifting and things, unexpected things happening till then.
Emphasis on loose.
Yeah. What do you think, Shadow? About ISC or anything I said about Pyro?
I personally would like we were saying before when we started up. I want to see something more than just rundown stuff, but where you and I were talking about it, it's part of the lore, because Stanton was settled by squatters, okay? And when the system was bought, they had to be moved out. So there are some outlying outposts that are still out there, and this is why they've been there for years. So it's good that they're showing this part of the lore and coming into it, and eventually, like you said, they'll bring it to where it's going to be newer buildings and things like that, but it's going to be the players that are going to build these newer settlements. So hopefully that comes to fruition. And with Pyro, that's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Just waiting for it.
That's a cool part of the lore that a lot of people don't know too. You know, the whole squatter situation, that once the system was bought, they had to go in and take care of them. So yeah.
And if anybody wants to check that out, it's with Paul Shelley, the Astro Historian. And that's where I learned about it. And it was interesting to hear. So just shouting that out to him.
That's a good point. Like, it would make sense that in Stanton, even though it's high security, you still have a lot of true at the edge villages or outposts, because some people manage to avoid being evicted, some people manage to avoid being picked up.
Yeah.
Makes
Yeah. Or they avoided being eradicated. We don't know.
using a more polite term, but yeah, you're right.
I can
Just saying.
I can definitely I can definitely imagine that maybe some of these people, you know, that whole squatter situation could be one of those things where, because they got kicked out, maybe they join like Nine Tails or something like that. You know, maybe that's where their hate for the UEE stemmed from. You know, you know, or a whole new outlaw group could come from that kind of thing.
Well, I got a question, and I don't know if either of you know this, but we may have to go check out Astro Historian. Were the Messers in power when Stanton was being established? I don't know. That I have to check.
What'd you say when Stanton was being established? What?
The Messers.
What about the
were
Messers?
in power. Were in power when Stanton was being established.
Oh.
Because they were ruthless.
Yeah, I don't
So-
know too much of their
I'll
history, so
I want to say it was more recent than that. I think that was under the UEE. Well,
Well,
when
the
Stanton was originally colonized by the settlers, I'm pretty sure that was under the Messers. But as far as when they came in there and kicked everyone out, I'm pretty certain that was a bit more recent. But I could be wrong on that one.
Well, it would make sense for people to get away from the Messer regime and go to Stanton before it was established. So, yeah.
yeah, that is something, you know, we're not really sure of. So I don't want to give anybody any sort of like false information on the lore.
I would have to check before that, but I would like to know, just to be on the up and up on it.
Yeah. It would be cool to have like a whole episode dedicated to lore.
I agree.
Adding it to the
Adding it to the list. All right. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and check out the new manufacturer MiraI here.
Now, before these settlements arrive in the upcoming Alpha 320, there's still the little matter of Alpha 319, Invictus Launch Week, and a new vehicle manufacturer that's making its debut at this year's event. And even though the big reveal isn't until next week, let's go ahead and have a quick chat with John and Will to see what we can squeeze out of them maybe a week early.
We have a lot of ships and vehicles in our game now. We're getting very close to, if not over 200 now. Keeping brands with a consistent theme is important because it helps immerse you in the universe. You see a ship of a certain style and role and you go, that's that manufacturer. And having consistent brand and manufacturers helps players give that initial read on what that vehicle is going to be. If they start branching out into every category under the sun, it sort of dilutes their visual identity and also their lore background. So having brands and sub-brands or entirely different brands helps strengthen that narrative. You look at it, you know, hey, it's that brand, it's going to roughly do this thing.
So this was kind of a journey that started back when we introduced the Misk Razor, a racing ship underneath the Misk brand. And so we created this lore for them that one of the CEOs of the company had a real passion for racing. And so he kind of charged the company with coming up with their own version of the racing ship, which ended up being the Daedalus. And while that didn't quite take the Murray Cup as that CEO had hoped, a couple years later, the Razor came out and it was another attempt at them. the company itself was so excited and charged by the creativity that came out of developing the Razor, especially when paired with their groundbreaking Xeon technology sharing program. They created a new division in the company, MiraI, pushing the aesthetic.
So this whole thing, right? The way I can't stop thinking about this whole situation is like CIG, they wanted to make something with alien tech that's kind of crazy, right? They wanted to do something. They probably had a design and like, this is really cool. We want to make this, but it doesn't fit with anybody. You know, like MISC, they're like, they have the like industrial workhorses that incorporate alien tech, and we want to incorporate that alien tech with this or that, but it doesn't fit their brand. And they're like, all right, we need to do something about this because we want to release the ship. We want to make this kind of stuff. We want an excuse to make something like whenever we have an idea that's kind of out there, this is our excuse to be able to just put it out there, you know, and have it underneath the MiraI logo. That way,
cool.
That way it is cool. I'm not knocking it at all, but I just think it's kind of funny because that I really feel like that was probably the way they thought about it at first. Was like, we need an excuse.
I don't think it was meant to be under MISC to begin with, but they were the only company that had a trade agreement or technology trading agreement.
That's where I was going with it.
So it had to be MISC, and then until they opened it up, and now that they've opened this type of facility or this type of sub brand or manufacturer with MISC, now you could have a Origin off-brand mass transporter.
Yeah.
A mass person mover. Now you can have a Crusader mining vessel. Now you can have our RSI mining vessel.
That was going to be that was going to be one of my questions was, do you guys think that this is going to carry on to all the other manufacturers now that they're going to have subdivisions where they can kind of get away with a little bit more experimentation, especially with the alien tech. Yeah, like Asperia. Asperia can do some crazy stuff now, you know. So,
but I still want to see a Crusader starter ship out there.
Oh, we'll see it.
Yeah,
we'll definitely see it.
I still want to see one.
Yeah.
At this point in time, Crusader has nothing but medium to large. You know.
Now the starter ships, I don't think they'll ever fall underneath the subdivisions of the manufacturers. No. I think they'll always fall within the main manufacturer.
Yeah, but a subdivision of Crusader, I would think they'd be more like maybe shuttles from where they started, and they put in a subdivision to make those things in an industrial type of setup.
I do think Crusader would be a really good for like a starter ship. It would be really good to maybe have something for like transport. Seeing that they had shuttles and it kind of evolved from that.
Yeah. But I mean, make it under. Go ahead, Sue.
That could be I like your idea, Shadow. I don't know if they're gonna do that or not. But that would be, and I don't even think they'd have to do an off-brand to be honest with you. That would be a direct competitor to the cargo.
Yes.
Or the what is it? MPUV, I think it is.
Yeah.
And you can have that just with the Crusader setup, no quad drive, just faster with a larger cargo space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could see that very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Crusader wasn't the original name of the company. So if they brought back the older name of the company, I think it was Seraphim or something like that, they could do the shuttle part and it would be a subsidiary of Crusader. Because Crusader is the name now.
Yeah,
So
it could be. Yeah,
just a thought.
that might make sense. Yeah.
And the devotion to quality that MISC is known for into bold new directions.
MiraI is essentially a performance brand, and performance is quite a wide-ranging category. So not only do you have things like racers come under performance, but also more militarized and very obviously military-focused ships as well.
So while MiraI might have gotten its start in racing, that's not going to be where it stops. There's a lot of possibilities for where we can take this brand in the future.
In introducing MiraI as a brand, it also gives us the opportunity to look back at the existing lineup of
For a second,
MISC
go back.
ships.
Go back a few bit ago when you was showing the guy he was interviewing. I wonder what that in the background is that they pixelated.
It's already confirmed to be the Fury.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious about that. Okay.
Yeah, so someone spotted that there's a sign in one of these frames that say Fury on it.
Gotcha.
In introducing MiraI as a brand, it also gives us the opportunity to look back at the existing lineup of MISC ships and reevaluate whether they do still make sense to be in that brand or move to the new MiraI sub-brand. And as part of looking at this, it was clear that the Razor series was the ideal candidate to move under MiraI as a brand.
As part of the conversation, we were also looking at the Reliant, and with its cool kind of hybrid cockpit and the way it rotates and really uses Xi'an tech, we were like, would this feel more appropriate as a MiraI ship? And going back and forth, it really was feeling more as an industrial workhorse that would fit better.
How do you guys feel about
That's a
that?
right call. That's a right call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I completely agree.
I've
Like, other
never,
than the, go ahead.
I've never flown a Reliant, so I don't know. But I feel that this stays with the brand. And the separation of it from going to MiraI to from MISC to MiraI would have been a mistake.
They're used a lot for box missions and light dog fighting and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I would say box missions more often than not.
Other than the weird rotating piece, nothing about that ship screams performance to me.
I see MISC. When I see it.
Yeah, you see MISC. You see the bubble windshield. You see the bulkhead gray. You see flat bulkheads everywhere. I mean, you had the basic weapons. Everything about that says MISC. None of it says performance.
Yeah, because it's really nothing that special. You know, there's not too much about it that really is like you said, it doesn't scream performance. You know. So
it screams workhorse.
There's no reason. There's no reason why I would pick that for it to be. You know, it would have to have something it does extremely well for it to be performance. I feel like
it would have been a mistake.
It's kind of like one of those like it does 2 or 3 things okay, decently. So.
Under the MISC brand, so the Reliant and the whole lineup of those ships will be staying with MISC. What kind of excites me about MiraI as a brand is this idea. We've seen this kind of blending of human and Xi'an technology already in MISC, and one of their charges is going to be taking it even farther. So the idea of the human ship designers looking at this Xi'an tech and saying, where can we take this? So it'll be really exciting to see what directions MiraI can take the grounding that MISC has provided them and take it even farther. So that was a little bit of info about our latest ship manufacturer, MiraI. I'm very excited for them. And if you want to learn more about the new brand and the ships they're developing, make sure to join us at Invictus.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that there are about 15 new derelict settlements, each with their own look and narrative that are being added to the Stanton system in the upcoming Alpha 320. that more and more will be added in subsequent patches and provide new opportunities for gameplay across the surface of its planets and moons. And that there's something new in the future of MISC when MiraI arrives at Invictus next week. What is it? They'd be furious if I said.
Such a nice ship, dude.
Hold on.
It's a cool little ship.
So this right here, this is the blast shield for the bomber variant. And I kind of wanted to ask you guys, do you guys think these are cameras so that way you could see?
They are confirmed to be cameras, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a heads-up display, a virtual heads-up display that will make you see what's in front of it. Like they've already confirmed that.
Now, to go along with that, there are other ships that I've seen those little feed cameras on. Like, you'll see them on the sides.
Yeah.
And so it kind of leads me to think that maybe we'll get some sort of other camera features with, like, associated with that kind of in the future with other ships.
Look at it like this, okay? This variant right here wouldn't need the blast shield because of it's a gunship. With the MX, okay, you drop that blast shield, right? It protects you from the glare of the rocket leaving the ship, and also protects you from other things that are going into the ship, you know, weapons fire and things like that. So it makes sense for that to be on that ship. It does.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it at first until I actually sat and thought about it. So yeah. Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
No. When you brought up the glare thing, I think that's only a part of it, but I do agree because when you look at the bomber variant, all the bombs when they get shot off, right, or the missiles they get shot off, it's right there in front of the cockpit. So that whole the backsplash, you know, of the rockets coming off of from the back of the missiles would be right in your face. That would just blind you.
Yeah,
it looks like they're just in the worst spot possible. And then the whole blast shield, we'll go here. We'll go into that here once this is over with. But I think there's more to it too.
Yeah, I think the blast shield is. I think there's on both variants, and I'm pretty certain that's for protection as much as it is for visual protection.
I feel that way too.
Yes, it is. It is.
And we'll go into that here after this is done.
For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee.
Okay, well, that's
Thanks for
anyways.
exploring the process of game development.
I'll go ahead and click off of that.
Thanks, Jared.
Thank you, Jared. So you guys can see that, right?
Yeah.
Here.
I can see it on YouTube. Sorry.
Okay, if you can see it on YouTube, then that's good.
That's good.
All right, so here is the fighter next to the bomber variant here, with the wings kind of closed down, and right here it's next to the links. You can kind of see.
No, I can't see it, Joe.
Yeah, well, you don't. Do you have it? Do you have the stream up?
Yeah, but I can see it. I can just see it as the ISC. Don't worry about it. I can see it in the stream. Go ahead.
Here. It's gonna be messed up here.
So good. I can see it. Okay. Now I can see it.
There. All right. So right here, the links is right next to them. So you can kind of see the length of them and how tall they are based on the models there. And those models can be accessed. I believe anybody can find them and play around with it.
Yeah.
This is the backside of the. I think that's the bomber variant. Yeah, there's the blast shield with the blast shield down. Now the blast shield. What I was going to say with the blast shield is that we're getting. I think we're getting flak ammunition here soon, and I think flak would absolutely just destroy this little tiny ship, and I think that would really help. The blast shield would really help against protection against ammunition like that, or like anything in general, right? But
yeah,
eventually we'll be able to shoot people. Like if you're in the seat and flak or shots get good enough where it comes center mass and it gets through armor and can hit the player, eventually it'll be able to hit the player and kill the person out of the turret.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, especially with flak, if that's coming up sooner rather than later, definitely.
but the reason I'm not saying that was the main reason, but when I was sitting in it and I was thinking about it, that back in the day, they were shooting off Shrike missiles.
Oh, I didn't mean to do
And
that.
I heard a pilot say, close your eyes when you fire. So when the very first inkling of the flash would blind the pilot when the missile was being fired.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that is one thing about the glare that I brought up.
So this is
Joe was nice enough to help me out of prison the other day, and he learned that the hard way. I was firing the missile off the weapons on top of the rover, and it was blinding him.
Oh yeah, I was making. I couldn't. See, I had to go into the different perspectives. I had to go back and forth from first and third because it was messing with me so bad.
Right.
But just imagine though the camera feeds would be picking up all that up too. So it would have to do something, alter the brightness of the flash or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it makes sense.
What's up, Brian? Thanks for coming in.
Hey, Brian.
We're taking a look at the Fury right now, and you can see right here it's inside. Someone placed the model inside of the Caterpillar, and you can see there's plenty of room behind it, above it, and to the sides. So a lot of people are going to be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And there, that's one angle of it actually sitting inside of the bed of the Nomad. And right here, it's in the back of the C2, and you can see there's at least a dozen of them. At least a dozen in the back there. Make that a little bit bigger there.
All I got to say is what I'm talking about for how many podcasts now about some of these small ships, about you just have a swarm of these things.
The mosquitoes.
The mosquitoes. We have a purpose-built ship for that, gentlemen.
I'm not even going to say the word. We already know what you're going to say, so don't say it.
Oh, man, I keep doing that.
Go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it, Zook.
No, I'm good. No, it's purpose-built. I like it. I like it for what it says. And that's what's exciting me about it is that type of gameplay that I've been talking about, the what-if scenario.
There we go.
Right? Theory this could work, right?
Mm-hmm.
That right there, they clearly have that as an option in mind. They clearly have that as an option in mind. Numbers on the battlefield has a element all of its own, right?
So
the
these are
property in of it, has a property in of itself, and you're gonna see it. You're gonna see this on YouTube. Someone's gonna do it. I'm gonna try to do it.
Oh, dude.
We just have 10 of them.
Well, I'm going to get a Caterpillar. All right. buy it in game, and I'm gonna call everybody who has a Fury, and we're gonna try this. I want to see it. Oh, there's the Red Dwarf.
Is that what you already named it? Now, I don't know if they're actually going to sell these at Invictus, but it could just be for the future. I've noticed that a lot of these leaks that come out of the pipeline Discord about paints, a lot of them we end up never seeing. So they could be for the future.
That's the reality stone, gentlemen.
This one kind of has like MSR vibes with the red and white.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Yep, that's it. Okay. All right. Let me bring this back
I could
up.
not be happier about this particular ship, to be completely frank with you.
Oh man.
I am,
as of right now, before actually seeing it, it seems like it's pretty amazing. Like it could fit in most things. And you know, I think we've really wanted something like that for a while, you know. So the fact we went hopefully our dreams are about to be answered with actually having like makeshift carriers and stuff like that. So the fact that we can't have the Liberator yet, or anything close to it, this will have to do for now, and I think it'll work for a little bit. So.
Could you imagine how many of those will fit on the Liberator?
Dude, I know. It's gonna be quite a lot.
it's gonna be incredible. Or the Polaris.
Oh, yes.
Anything large?
I mean, anything large. It's gonna be ridiculous. It's gonna be very strong. And even the Bandy Merchantman. Like I know the upstairs one isn't that massive, but there's a pretty good sized cargo deck below. Right, there's a world of possibilities that we have access to now. That you can see a trade vessel. You know, odds are it's going to be a trade vessel, but it may not necessarily be a trade vessel in the future. And
Start this year, I'll be right back. Sorry, I got to get something to drink.
Okay,
you're fine. And for me, a lot of people, I think it's. I don't want it to be overpowered, and my main concern is it being overpowered. I think initially it might be. I think 4 size 2s might maybe a bit strong. I don't think it is, to be fair. I don't think it is.
I don't think so either.
But in practice it might be. And I don't think it will be, especially when they introduce armor. Because once they start introducing armor, size 2 weapons are not going to break the armor of a Hammerhead or maybe even a Redeemer. Like, that ship may be
They're not
swarmed.
supposed to. They're
not supposed to, yeah.
They're not supposed to. Yeah, that's for, you know, medium and small ships.
Yeah,
mainly.
yeah, exactly. So it's I don't think this platform will be a trump card that beats everything. I think it'll be
not.
I think it'll be a force. Yeah, I think it'll be a force multiplier. And I was talking with some people in my org about how we would want to use this. And the best example that I've talked with a couple people now, and we're kind of coming to a consensus as far as where our heads are, what our plans are, is essentially you would have wing fights where you'd have a wing leader in a regular ship, like a Saber or a Gladius or maybe even a Talon that has a little bit higher DPS potential, right? And you'd have Furies in a wing with it, following their main ship, and that way they wouldn't be the main hammer of the hit, but they would definitely be a distraction and a force multiplier, which would make it really difficult for other light fighters to deal with your main damage dealer. Like if they wing up with an Ion or something.
I agree, and I mean, I can only imagine, you know, like some pirates. I keep imagining that you know, some pirates are going to come by. They're going to see a caterpillar, you know, kind of floating around. They're going to be like, all right, let's let's go take what they got. And all of a sudden, the side doors open up, and 6 of these things come out. And they're gonna be like, shit. I don't think I want to deal with this. This is gonna be annoying as hell.
Especially the missile variant.
Oh yeah. Whichever one
See,
you
I
have
don't think
more of.
I don't think this is going to be defensive though. I think a lot of people are talking about these like trade convoys, and like I think most of the time those trade convoys will still have those ships full of cargo.
It's going to be a good distraction. It's going to be able to give the Caterpillar enough time to get out of there.
Mhm.
All he
You
has
might be
to
able
do-
to.
All he has to
You
do
might be able to
is-
get 1 or 2.
Huh?
I think you'll have maybe 1 or 2 back there in the back of the C2, but I think most of it will be cargo. I think what
we'll
most
have to play
I think,
around with it. I think
yeah,
you could,
we're gonna
I,
have to.
I think you could get probably 2 or 3 or 4 maybe, and then the rest be cargo. Because it seems like, I mean, from that picture, it looks like you could fit a dozen of those things in there. So, yeah, just having a quarter of that.
I don't know.
Would be,
I think the main use of this ship is going to be offensive. I
don't see it as offensive.
It's going to be whatever you want it to be. That's the exciting thing. I think that's one of the main things on why people are excited about it, is because you could really just, it's limited to your imagination on what you could do with this. The fact that you could fit this in most things, you could use this for whatever you want. We're going to have to see. We don't know how it flies. We don't know how much of it could actually fit into certain ships. And we don't know how practical it is at the moment, but we'll have to wait. Yeah, we'll have to. I
gotta fly it.
Gotta fly it.
So
first.
this will be. So I got a question for you, Shadow.
Yeah.
You're a trading player. You've been trading for a while, right?
Yes.
Would you rather have, as a trading ship, a fighter that is flying with you, escorting you, or would you rather have a fighter inside of your ship that would require you to come to a relatively slow stop to then launch to be able to defend you? What would be your preference?
To be fair, I would have those as a backup in the ship. Still have my cargo, still have my escorts, but those would be my backup to protect me while the escorts are taken care of, because they'd be on hot patrol or cap around the ship if I needed them.
Okay.
They would be the last resort of defense. Okay, because the aggressors are going to be the escorts. Okay. And if the aggressors are getting pounded enough to where I've got to call my little backup ships, I'll drop them out in a heartbeat. So it all depends. I have to try it. I have to see it and work with it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big letdown, I think, if it's not viable to be able to put it in a ship and use it for for kind of like what we were talking about.
I think what you're saying. I don't think it'll be that viable to go along with cargo. Like if you had an escort ship that had a bunch of them in it that was separate from the main cargo ship, I could see that. For example, I could see a Caterpillar escorting a C2, for example. I could see that, right?
Yeah.
Where the C2 is fully loaded with cargo, right? And the Caterpillar is the main gun, the main turret, the main fighters as an escort. But as far as trading, what is the Star Citizen now, especially in 319, I don't see that being that big of that viable, because especially with the C2, how that's stacked so high, you would be giving up a lot of cargo to even have them in the ship to begin with, which really cuts into your margins. And if you're cutting into your margins and you're having to pay for crew, that's going to make it very expensive to have in the back of your ship. The second thing on top of that is what you got to realize, whenever you launch these things, they have no quad drive. they can't follow you. So whenever you
And
launch
this-
them,
We've
you're
already
either
we
hang on,
talked about
hang on,
this.
hang on, hang
Go
on,
ahead.
hang on. You're either
Suicide
leaving
bombers.
them to fight. Yeah, you're either leaving them to fight, either leaving them behind, or right, or you are now there and you've dedicated to the fight. Right, it's possible to do both. As a trading ship, that's incredibly risky.
Yeah.
Right? So you're cutting into your margins, you're increasing your crew count, and you're doing a very risky maneuver to very risky trade or act as far as traders are concerned. That's what I'm saying. Like it feels hyper defensive where I am holding this area and I'm not being moved, or I'm being a very aggressive action where I am overwhelming somebody's defenses on a very, very short-term basis.
Yeah.
Like I would see it as a very much like a jump down or a pirating move. Actually, I would see pirates using this more so than I would see defenders using this.
Well, you have a very valid point, because you're as a trading pilot, you have to think about making that AUEC, you know? And this is where having the Caterpillar with at least 6 or 7 of them of the mosquitoes in it is going to benefit you, okay? As long as you've got a full ship. If you're doing a quick run where you've got enough AUEC, you're not really worried about it, but you still want to have the defensive posture, right? And those ships will not be able to find you without, because they have no quantum drive, just like you said. The only way you'll be able to find somebody is if you got a party marker. That's it. Okay? You won't be able to find that. You won't be able to find the mothership.
I think these will be really good scout ships. So parking your main ship, you know, in orbit with like the moon or planet, and then having it go down and checking something out, I think it'd be good for. We don't have too many situations where we would really use that right now, but like in the future when you would have to have some sort of scout ship, I think it'd be good.
I still think. Good, sorry. Good.
I think they'll be good for reconnaissance for Jumptown. You bring them down, you know, let them do their thing. They come back, berth, and then, you know, stuff like that. They report their stuff. I mean, who knows? But without that quantum drive, that ship is going to be lost without a party marker.
Also,
just like the Archimedes and the Merlin.
The whole situation with them being inside of the C2 is kind of an interesting situation because these things are probably not going to have very good shields. So to be able to insert them anywhere without them dying early on, you're going to have to put them in something that has pretty good shields, right? And the C2 is kind of chunky.
Yeah,
So,
but you're talking about an A2 or an M2 if you want to go with heavy armor.
yeah, however you want to do it, right? But yeah, that's probably going to be a reason why you want to put this thing inside of something to make it so it doesn't to make up for the small shields that it has.
And that's kind of making my point for me, because if you think about in nature, for example, where is, or even to go, let's go nature, fiction, even Sun Tzu's The Art of War, right? This ship is a very, very small ship, very, very paper thin. If you look at the hull points, its total is only 6,600, and its main body is 1,500. So it's almost nothing, right? So if you look at any time you would see a unit like this, think of StarCraft, Zerglings, where think about in nature you have bees and ants, right? Every time you would see mass numbers sent out there to do this type of action, right? you are generally you're either mass attacking an area that is set, or you're mass defending an area that is set.
Yeah.
You very rarely use them for chase downs. You very rarely use them for rundowns.
You wouldn't do
No.
that
Right.
because this thing probably doesn't have a lot of fuel
No.
to it, hydrogen fuel to
No.
it.
Yeah, exactly. So you're very much going to be limited to. This thing is going to be launched from whatever ship it's going to be launched from. It needs to be in the action. I mean, and it needs to do its thing. It needs to come back and/or die.
See,
Right.
we've had this conversation before when
Yeah.
it comes to orgs having some sort of cheap protection or cheap, defense or
Yep.
offense, however, whatever you want them to be. These are going to be most likely one of the cheaper options in game to buy. So you're going to want to buy, 10, 12 of these things, vice, 3 or 4 Gladiuses or something, depending on your
Exactly.
situation.
Basically, what you're saying is, and I'm going to say it, it's replacing the Aurora as the expendable, right?
It's replacing the Merlin, the Andromeda. Not Andromeda. Sorry. What's the other P-72?
Pisces?
The Phoenix.
Phoenix? I don't know.
No. The Phoenix. No, it's
P?
the small
P?
crap that comes with the Phoenix. With an A.
The Merlin.
No, that's the P-52. But anyways, it's replacing those. We're all the same.
The Archimedes.
Archimedes. Thank you. I appreciate
I
that.
was gonna
Shadow.
say I don't know what P. What are you talking about? That starts with a P.
Oh, it's the P-52 is the one with the bespoke ballistics on the nose, and then the P-72
Yeah,
comes with the Phoenix, and it has 4 size ones on the wing,
that's
and nothing bespoke in the
that's
middle.
another downside of this ship is that there's nothing currently that is made for it to dock to, like
hold
the Merlin or the Archimedes.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, right?
I think it's made to fit anything.
But it's not going to be able to dock. So, I mean,
Correct.
in the Constellation, you might actually be able to fit one of these in the cargo elevator, and then have at the same time a Merlin docked in the back, just like normal. And and then the fact that this thing can fit in most other things without docking. We don't know yet if that's going to be like a plus or a minus of it. So, but
Well,
do you guys?
I do have to say this. We don't see very often a ship where you can bring out the refueling nozzle. That was cool. That was cool. If
Wait.
you went to the side of the ship, right?
Uh-huh.
And there's a panel that opens and the refueling nozzle pops out.
That's what happened with the Fury?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was slick. I was like, wow, they actually put a nozzle where you can hook up a hose and fuel the ship. That was slick. So
I was
You
not
might.
aware of that. That's kind of cool.
So is it an actual like nose, kind of like what other ships like the Gladius has or something like that, or is it like a
it's on the side of the ship, on the port side of the ship, right?
Well, what I'm
There's-
saying is it like a?
No.
Do you see this being like an external thing, or do you see it being where if it's inside of something that has the capability to refueling from
It
the
has
inside?
to be inside. It has to be inside. It's not an extending
Because
fuel nozzle.
you could
know what I
park
mean?
this inside of like a refinery ship or something,
And refuel.
possibly be able to refuel it directly.
Yeah, but you have to have a hose to connect it. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool to be able to have that kind of thing, and that would further support like the fact that you can't dock it really, because if you could just park this and then have it refuel from the inside, because you wouldn't be able to do that with a docked ship, I don't think.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it pivots to where it can be refueled by a Starfare? I don't know. But that would be slick if it did, you know?
Yeah, it's going to be really curious. For anybody that didn't know yet, the ISC for this week, this Thursday, is going to be all talking about the Fury. So
yeah, I figured that.
There's usually a question and answer on Spectrum that they'll release if it's not already out now, where you can ask questions about it. So it'll be really cool to see more of the details about the ship, because this is one of those ships that has so much potential that we just have no idea where their direction is going for this ship yet. There's more questions than answers right now. So there's so much we want to do with it. We don't know if we're going to have the ability to.
It would surprise me greatly if they didn't have the ability for this ship to refuel midair. This is one of the few ships that heavily need that ability. Just simple as that.
Anything without a quantum drive, you're going to need.
You need midair refuel.
Anything, any sort of chance you can get, whether it's like maybe having both abilities to land somewhere and then refuel from like an internal, the internals of the ship, or external. Yeah.
So
transfer some fuel from the A2 from the mothership to this ship, something like that.
Yeah.
So basically, gotta fly it.
Oh, there was another thing that was brought up on that Con 42 interview that was done. He brought up the Expanse as being something that they're going to be working on soon. I don't remember the exact words, but he was definitely alluding to them.
I was expecting that, honestly, with the what do they call them? The bags, right? Yes. There's been some leaks about different versions of the bags coming out of the game code, so it definitely feels like that would be a natural progression to get that.
Yeah.
To work on the Expanse.
Now that's just speculation off of what I heard in the interview, is that he talked about the Expanse as if that's something that they're working on here soon.
Well, this is also bringing up the modularity of the Galaxy refinery.
Yeah, anything with refineries. Yeah. All right.
A larger mine ship.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Everett? No worries, man. You're not too late. So, I think this is a good time to kind of take a look at the old tutorial, and then we'll finish it off with our thoughts of 319 and stuff like that. So right now, what I have up on the screen, it is a guy by name Citizen Gamer, and this video was created 7 years ago, and this is all based on the ooh, that keyboard's loud. Sorry. That keyboard is like blaring in my ears. Yeah, so this is the old flight tutorial within Arena Commander that we're going to take a look at. It's about 20 minutes long or so. So we're going to watch it and kind of compare. So I know most people didn't even know that there was a tutorial back in the day. So it'll be very interesting to see the differences. So this one's heavily scripted. If you guys want to check it out for yourself, you guys can see. It's called Basic Flight Tutorial by Citizen Gamer. So let's go ahead and watch it.
Wow, that UI
Lucas Carrasco, but everyone knows me as Gilly. I've served in 6 squadrons and qualified on almost a dozen ships. So if you put in the time, I'll get you on the path to dogfighting with the best of them. We're gonna set you up in the ship on the landing pad to your right. Hustle over and let's get going.
You guys can hear it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was 7 years ago in
Arena Commander.
In Arena Commander.
Basic flight tutorial.
Yeah, this is before the PU really had proper flying.
With that old ass Gladius.
Don't you be rude, my Gladius. I'm spanking now.
I mean, I like it.
Alright,
It's
first
old, but
things
I like
first.
it.
Take a look around your cockpit and familiarize
Now,
yourself.
I don't dislike this at all. The way things used to look, it is a little outdated, but it's not bad. I don't think any of that was bad.
Actually, I'm gonna say this. I like this configuration compared to what there is now.
They said, so a lot of this is coming from your helmet HUD. It's
Mhm.
separate from the cockpit. And what they did over time was they added all of this to your cockpit HUD instead. And they said that they're going to be kind of reverting back to something similar to this in your, like they're going to be having more with your helmet HUD in the future.
Like they have said that there's going to be flight helmets, combat helmets, ground combat helmets.
With different capabilities and stuff.
Yeah, mining helmets, right? So if if you have a mining helmet on and you hop in a Gladius, you're going to be missing some of the key features that a fighter who was prepared to be a fighter is going to have. We don't know what that's going to be, what it's going to look like, where the balance between the two is going to be. We'll have to see. But yeah, a lot of this is going to go towards helmets, and not just helmets, but helmet manufacturers. So, like for example, if you're set up in a combat setup, and you get out of a Gladius, an Aegis combat ship, and then you hop into, say,
Anvil.
like an Anvil arrow, right? You'll have a same or similar HUD because you retain it on the helmet, right? So people will have a preferred helmet or preferred HUD, and that's not what they're going to prefer to fly with to some degree.
That's kind of cool.
And you can see down here, these MFDs. I don't like the MFDs. I'm glad they changed it. But you can see the MFD displays like EM and IR signature, and you still have them on the HUD as well displayed, even though they're on the MFDs.
Help with the layout. It's imperative to quickly find and access specific controls. Last thing you want to be doing in a scrap is bringing up the instructions. You'll notice the majority of your systems are disabled. I'll be controlling when they're on and offline to simulate potential scenarios and combat situations. Let's get ready for takeoff. I'll do this step by step to show you how it's done. Look over at me and watch what I do. Systems, check. Engines, check. Tower, permission for launch.
Cleared
Copy
for
that,
launch.
tower. Alright, first I want to lift vertically until I'm just clear of the landing pad. Now that I'm clear, I can strafe forward onto the taxiway. Now I square my ship up with the ceiling doors, ready for a vertical takeoff. Once you're aligned, the tower will open the doors.
Look how fast those doors open. Can we get those, please? They're so slow now.
That's it. Once I clear out, it'll be your turn.
I wonder if the music is Arena Commander music,
Ready?
or if it's
I'm enabling your systems.
placed in there
Monitoring
by
progress from up here.
the YouTuber. It almost doesn't even sound like Star Citizen music. It might be.
I think that's YouTuber. I think that's probably that. This feels like Star Citizen to me.
It feels like tutorial music, though. He definitely, it is his. And
Nice. You're clear of the pad. Okay, now straight forward onto the taxiway. If you need it, the tower should have lit up your path.
You see the
Make sure
red
you don't
spline?
pitch or roll. It'll be tough to
Yeah.
get back into proper alignment. Don't align yourself with the middle of the doors. You'd be surprised how many crews forget that the cockpit.
Dude, I want that so bad.
The tower will open the doors once
A
you're
little
back up.
mini holographic version of my ship
Yeah.
compared to the ground that I'm underneath.
Oh yeah. We honestly need that. We have no perception
Yeah.
or situational awareness of when we're flying, like how far we are from the ground.
That looks.
We need that so bad.
Solid.
Or even our sides or anything like that. You have to go in
Yeah.
a third person camera, and even that's not really good enough. Easy does it. And this is inside the asteroid of Arena Commander. The map that
That's
we
a
have.
good line, pilot. Great job. I haven't seen many pull one off on the first try. I've just enabled your targeting system. Use it to target me.
Jesus.
Good. When pursuing a target,
That was
keep your speed
rough.
as close to theirs as possible. Give it a shot. Make sure I'm targeted and hit match speed. Great. You're locked on. Remember,
That's one thing we
it's
need.
autopilot, so you stay
The ability to match speed with a wing leader.
Yes.
computer will continue to monitor my speed
Yep.
and adjust.
I mean, you can already kind of do that now, but it's not that simple.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that they had this before, I would imagine that a lot of this is probably going to come back in some way, shape, or form. You know,
I
Yeah,
hope so.
but refined. Yep.
of course, refined.
Or stop fast. That, my friend, is the Spire. Isn't she a beauty?
It looks a lot different now.
Moving on. Now this is my favorite part of training. The axial roll. So much
The
fun.
barrel roll.
Rolling is a great way to orient your ship to fit through tight gaps or evade incoming fire. Now you give it a go. Nice one. Well, you seem to be able to handle your ship, so let's see if you can handle a bit of combat.
Controls have changed.
Radar. You should have a contact. Don't worry, it's just a training drone. It handles just like the real thing, but its
Drone.
weapons are less than lethal. Saying that, they still pack a punch, so try not to take any hits if you don't have to. Use your targeting system to quickly target the closest enemy. Okay, now look at the top right of your HUD. You should see the target displayed. This will show real-time damage, shield status, and a few other things. Shields are drawn as panels floating around the ship. They'll shrink as they weaken until they disappear completely. At that point, your shots will hit the hull and cause lasting damage.
It's nice having that on the actual helmet HUD rather than
Now
that
your weapons
MFD.
are online. Line up your target and fire when you're ready.
Oftentimes I look at an MFD and it takes me away from the fight.
Good
I end
shot.
up not
See
having
shields
awareness.
weakening on your HUD? Yeah, you didn't like that. What are you waiting for? Go finish it off. Now you have a target. You'll have extra aim reticules. Those are predicted impact points, or pips. They'll show you where to shoot to hit a moving target. Notice you have multiple pips with varying lag. Each of those indicates a weapon on your ship. The computer's trying to compensate
That's actually
for
very
varying
satisfying.
speeds between your ballistic and energy projectiles. You're taking hits. Check your HUD for shield and damage status. Its shields are down. Finish it off with a missile.
Missile.
Missile locking sensors are on the nose, so keep your target in front of you long enough to lock on. Launch! Launch! go. Keep on the pressure. Good hit. Keep firing.
He didn't hit it.
Watch it, rookie.
He didn't hit him.
Lock. Fire.
Come on, get him. Oh, missile 3. Got him.
Good kill. On me, rookie.
Just don't missile lock him. The station will open up.
On me. Let's go.
Get you.
Put the missiles away.
Uh-oh. Looks like he had a friend.
You just
Take a look in your
assaulted a
rearview
UE officer. Slow down and prepare to be boarded.
camera. He's got locked. Missiles incoming.
Oh,
Damn!
Hit took out
Look at
your
those
weapons,
pieces
so
fly
have to
away.
hold out till they come back. Countermeasures are still online. Use them.
Things are actually breaking apart like that.
Last missile was heat-seeking, so equip your flares. Helpful tip, don't boost after dropping one. Boosted thrusters are much hotter than a flare. Flares have a short lifetime. Don't be too quick to fire them. Another pro tip, countermeasures are fired backwards, so never fly the missile head-on. Launch countermeasure and expect it to work. Careful, these ships
These are
aren't
good
cheap.
tips. Very
Stop
good
lock.
tips.
Missiles incoming. Good. You got your guns back.
Okay.
You need more time to get your missiles.
I just saw a differentiation in color on the HUD.
Yeah.
Just saying.
up.
We need
If
it.
the drone gets behind you, enter decoupled mode to disengage your main engines and allow you to spin your ship around while retaining your original vector.
Oh, they're teaching them decoupled mode?
It's a great way to dissuade
Wow.
your pursuer, but make sure you've checked your path ahead first.
This is a good combat tutorial.
Just remember to disengage when you're done.
This is not the same tutorials we have today, and for obviously reasons, but they're teaching two different subjects,
Missiles incoming.
right? One is teaching how to exist and live in the verse, how to get food, and how to get a ship.
Yeah.
This is teaching you how to fight.
Yeah.
It's
very different.
completely, yeah.
And that was gonna bring up a question kind of towards the end, but I'll ask it now. When they do get to that point of reintroducing a basic flight tutorial, I wanted to ask you guys how you want them to do it and introduce that, because we were kind of talking about the tutorial now, how it's in the PU and anybody can come up to you and mess with you, right? And it's one of those things where I think having an arena commander is a great idea, because no one can mess with you and you get all the time in the world to practice and do what you need to do. So I was thinking it'd be kind of cool if you do your basic tutorial in the PU, and then somewhere along the line in the PU, it brings you to like a sim pod somewhere, you know? So like if it was on New Babbage, it would bring you to the factory line and it'd take you to one of those sim pods maybe, and you go through the arena commander simulation of dogfighting and do it in there. That way you don't get messed with whenever you're learning this kind of stuff.
I think that could be something you could sign up for or do or pay, 100 AUEC to participate in, right? Or have that, or have an organization have a sim pod in their organization building, where any member of the org can, hey, part of the benefits of being a member of the org is you have free access to the sim pod if you want to. But Arena Commander sort of fills that role. It almost makes sense to have this tutorial or a version of it in Arena Commander again eventually.
I think so too. I think this whole idea of having it the way it is, I think this is great. I don't think there's really anything wrong with this tutorial so far.
To answer Everett's question, in the game right now, you can already target individual systems. It's a bit clunky and it's not obvious, but like in Elite Dangerous, where you can target a power plant, shield generator, that kind of thing, a quantum drive or slow space drive, in Star Citizen, you can still do that today. It's not obvious. It's not heavily used.
Don't you have to do it manually though? Like you have to know where it is specifically on that ship.
No,
not just target it.
You can target your system targeting can target individual modules right now.
I'll have to look that up because
Mhm.
I always saw videos of people doing it, and it just
Mhm.
looked like it from my observation. It looks like they're just manually doing it. They're putting the pip on specific area of the ship to shoot it. But
the targeting system is such a clunky thing right now
yeah,
that it's far easier just to say on the C2, I know where the power plant is, and you aim for it.
yeah,
Right. Especially when you have like the C788, the flat piece you're getting for module damage. Module damage is still a relatively new thing. 2, the targeting system really isn't taking into account yet. So that entire system is very, very clunky. It is there, but it's clunky, and it was probably going to get part of the targeting. The HUD rework is probably going to be included in there, if I was a betting man.
Oh, Tyson says the 8 key will change what you target. Oh, I didn't know that.
Mhm.
All right, thank you. Thank you for that. I'm going to have to go try that out now and see how clunky it is. All right, I'm going to go ahead and play it.
You got your missiles back. Take it out.
Sound effects were really good.
Fired prematurely.
And when he's actually firing and you actually see it hit, that's so much more. It's so much more clear what's going on, what you're doing, and how it's being done to that ship is so much more clear than what we have right now.
Look at the speed of the ship.
You're taking hits. Check your HUD for shield and damage.
They're traveling much slower.
You guys can see they have. You can see the character breathing, and you see the fog, and his like in tense situations, the helmet's actually fogging up. That's crazy.
Heading back to the landing pad to restock and refuel for the final part of your training. On me, rookie.
Because if you look at it, this entire situation was traveling at a much slower speed. So that's why it feels more impactful, because you are literally closer to the ship whenever the explosions and impacts are occurring.
Good back there, kid.
That's what they're trying to do with master modes.
Exactly.
Now this I would do for a few hours, just to just to get the feel of it.
No, this is great. I'm sure people were sad when they took this out. There's a lot of people that say the old flight model was great and that they miss it. And kind of seeing this, I can kind of understand why. This is definitely more of a polished thing than what we have now. Like what we have now is very just like a early implementation of something that's going to be changed.
Once landing mode's active, your HUD's going to swap out your combat systems for landing-specific functionality. You can cycle through available landing pads the same as cycling through targets.
You can cycle landing pads like you can targets.
Once you've targeted a landing pad, request permission to land.
I'm sure that'd be a feature people would love right now. Being able to pick your landing pad.
By the landing system. It'll guide you to your pad and help you perform a safe landing. You can use the automatic ETL landing procedure or do the whole thing manually.
Look, you already have a little hollow thing of him compared to the pad.
Yeah.
So it shows that he's upside down. The moment you get permission to land, it shows that, hey, you're upside down.
those notification warnings too that he got.
Yep.
The audible warnings. You see, it's amazing.
This was 7 years ago, Brian.
So you could tell that Chris Roberts and everybody there has thought about all of this already. So we have to be getting something like this back again.
Yeah, I think so as well. That's very encouraging. I'm not gonna lie. I think
weapon groups, shield configuration, and power distribution. I wouldn't mess around with them during training. Pause it, go back. Go back to where it had the weapons lined up. Look at how it's curved and it like spreads out in front of you.
Yeah.
Does that not look very similar to the building blocks hollow viewer piece that they have that showed recently?
Yeah.
Yes,
it does.
They're rebuilding it. They're bringing it back.
So
that looks very similar.
We have to just hope that when we get all the new UI, the new Mobi glass, the helmet HUD functionality, all of that will bring back a lot of the good stuff from this tutorial and carry it over to the new stuff.
I hope so.
I don't know why they ever.
I want to do this. You know,
I wish
the engine changed.
I wish
the
they
engine
had
changed,
this,
Joe.
The what?
The game engine changed.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I didn't think of that.
This was under Cry Engine, if I'm
No.
correct. What?
Yeah. You're right. I'm sorry. You're right.
But even this doesn't look bad. It is a little outdated, but it doesn't look bad.
Yeah.
I would play this today. 100%. I would play hours and hours of this. I wish they had this like something like a separate download that you can download right now.
When you're ready.
Can't get it. It's under Cry Engine.
Yeah.
Think you could stay on my tail? If you need to get up to top speed in a hurry, try boosting. You can also use it to overpower your maneuvering thrusters.
The top speed.
Tighter corners.
200 meters a second.
You do have a limited amount that takes time to replenish, so don't go nuts with it. If you need to cut your speed in a hurry, use your space brake. It's much quicker than dialing back your engines, and the moment you let go of it, you'll automatically accelerate back up to your previous speed.
Yeah, this feels like master modes.
Think you could put all this together? Let's see.
Oh, I wanted to bring up something too. Now that we're looking at asteroids, in that Con 42 interview that they did, he brought up the question was, what do you something along the lines of what's something new that you're looking forward to for the future of like Star Citizen, and he brought up asteroids are going to be changing, and that they're going to have many different unique asteroids that you're going to be able to fly through and do different things with. That's going to be available. So there's that. We're getting new types of asteroids soon.
Super vague, but okay.
Well, does that mean that the Air and Halo gate is going to be involved?
No, not they said that's on hold until after Pyro.
Okay.
So they're going to have to reevaluate that after Pyro is done.
Okay.
Still with me, kid? Good job. Now, one thing you need to understand, every ship's outfitted with systems to look out for you. That last sharp turn, you probably felt your ship clamp down on the speed. That's your G-Safe system kicking in, making sure that you aren't taking too many G-forces and blacking out. If you need to get that extra edge in turning, you can disable G-Safe, but be warned, an unconscious pilot turns to a dead one pretty quick. You also have
Why didn't Mama teach me that?
adjust your forward velocity so you can make controlled turns. Disabling Calm Stab will allow you to maintain your velocity in turns, but you will drift wider.
Con stab.
That's new.
Fast.
I love this tutorial.
Still with me?
It's great.
All right. I'm a little impressed.
I would spend hours in here learning.
It's crazy. You can look back at
Race you to the spire.
something that's as old as this and get excited for the game, and it's not nowhere near like this right now.
Contact. Vandal fighter. Dead ahead.
Ooh,
Oh,
This is not a
Van
drill. I
Duel.
repeat, this is not a drill. All your systems are active. This is a live fire.
that was an
encounter.
odd
Mark
sound
your target.
effect for the warping in.
Copy that.
I liked
I got
it.
the other. Good luck.
The sound effects are so much more satisfying.
And that's the scythe.
I don't like the fog. His breath fogging it up.
It's kind of cool though.
It's very cool, but I don't like it too much.
Uh-oh.
Blackout.
Oh, look at him. He's sideways. Look at his head.
Sideways.
His head's resting on his shoulder.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. Very in depth.
Dude, that's amazing. That small detail. Like, yeah, you're now laying on the...
Red out.
When do we get to see vomit on the visor?
Oh man.
You're taking hits. Check your heart for sure.
And then wiping it off. Or having to take your helmet off and fight with your helmet off. Oh man.
On me, rookie.
I think flight helmets would have like a vomit catcher. I think actual like flight helmets have like something to catch vomit. And again, another advantage to a flight helmet as opposed to
Ooh, did he get
a
him?
marine helmet, for example.
I can't get over the sound effects. It just sounds so polished.
I would be in here
Again,
hours learning how to.
And he
Oh!
did you hear?
debris.
You hear
He
him
hit
hit
debris.
the debris?
Yeah.
Oh man.
And it didn't blow up.
I can't wait for them to polish the sound
Got
effects.
more hostiles inbound. Looks like
That's the thing. I think the sound effects are still there,
recognized agents.
but again, you're
It's not as
you're
it's,
hitting the
it's not
you're
polished.
hitting the combat. You're hitting the combat closer to each other.
All of it's being changed, so that's why it's not like right now. The sound effects are like good in some areas, but it's not like it doesn't sound polished because it's not.
I'm when I did the Vandu Swarm by myself just to see what it was like, I did hit some debris after I took out a Vandu ship, and I heard it, and I felt it. You could see the vibration. It was cool. It was
Yeah.
cool.
Enemy designation is tank. We're gonna have to work together to take it down. Target declared.
This is intense. Ooh, man, he's missing with those missiles.
Spamming, baby.
The ship
Oh!
breaking apart like
You're
that,
clear to engage.
these ships breaking apart feel so much more natural than what we have right now. I mean, it's just because of server performance and like desync and all that, but yeah.
Engage the rest. Good luck. Another training session, huh?
Radiation critical, guys.
Ship. It must have hit your power plant. Your ship's loaded with military intel, so we can't let it fall into enemy hands. You'll have to initiate self-destruct before you eject.
Oh, wow.
Come on, bail
Self-destructing because you
out.
have
Get out of there.
classified
Cutting it
information.
close there, kid.
Dan running.
Let's get you back to base. First round's on me.
Nice. Wow. That was
That
it.
was cool. That was cool.
And there's Space Tomato.
I want to try. God, I would love to try that.
I'll link it for everybody if anybody wants to take a look at this later. I'll put it in the chat.
Cool.
That's legitimately cool.
There you go.
Definitely something that I would love to try if it still exists.
Yeah, like I was saying, it'd be really cool if somehow you could take it and like if this separate build someone had and you could just download it from somewhere, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was that was pretty awesome.
But even if it was integrated to the game, right, where you could just go and do it, you know,
Yeah.
not have to go into Arena Commander or something like that. Walk up to the pod, get in, and just do it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people would be there practicing their asses off, you know?
If it was that immersive,
Very immersive.
then yeah, people would absolutely love it. So they have to finish the flight model first before we get anything like that again.
What I find absolutely fascinating is so much of what I just witnessed feels like what they've shown for master modes, for the new building blocks HUD UI.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely feels like they're not trying to necessarily recreate it, but they're going for the same feel. And
yeah,
I like what they did. That's the first time I've ever seen that. I like what they did. I like the look and feel to it. And if they're wanting to go in that same vein still, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
I would be totally for that. I would be totally for that.
I definitely would too. So this is the part of the stream where we're kind of coming to the end. So if anybody has any last minute questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. Right now, I'll kind of go to you guys for any final thoughts that you guys have.
Go ahead, Zoop.
Shadow, go ahead.
Well, from what we discussed today, I'm excited for the Outposts. And if it's to the point where we can just go down to an outpost, not have to get caught up in a bunch of combat or anything like that, and be able to meet a mission giver, or even just to be able to interact with the inhabitants there and not have to deal with a mission, be able to trade with these people and stuff like that, that would be cool. That I would like to see. As far as the MiraI, the Fury, and I'm going to say it again, gotta fly it.
Yeah,
See how it feels.
There's a lot of hype around it, and there's good reason. And it, you know, on paper, when you look at it without flying it, it definitely has a lot of possibility to it. But yeah, you never know. We're gonna end up flying it, and I'm sure without a doubt, we're gonna be a little disappointed with it in some way or shape or form.
Well, there's always going to be some disappointment with something new.
Yeah.
Just like when the Antares came out. Okay.
I don't think it's
people
gonna be
have been-
quite that disappointing, but
Well,
yeah.
I'm just saying, there's going to be some, you know.
No ship is perfect, even if it does have quote unquote unfair advantage, like
Well,
MiraI says.
I mean, look at it like this: we've all had ships that we wanted to get, but once we took them out and flew them, that's when we saw the disadvantages, and there were advantages to it. So it's a give and take, and nothing is balanced correctly at this point. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Sorry.
The new player experience, I redid it just to see what it was like, and now with the key hints over to the side instead of bouncing below us in your line of sight, where it's over to the right, that makes a big difference. It's more helpful and it's interactive. So when you're doing something, it pops up with the key combinations to help you, compared to the text popping up randomly. It's more interactive, and it's a good step. It's a very good step.
It is a good step.
You can turn them on and off, so you have that option. You know.
Yeah.
But comparing the new player experience that we have in 319 coming to compared to what was in the past, I'll take the one in the past and have it revamped. That was beautiful. I loved it.
That's all we could really hope for.
Yeah, but that's my take on it. I enjoyed the new experience that was there in 319. It just needs to be polished more to get rid of some of the quirkiness of it, but it needs some help. But it'll be good once it's flushed out more.
Zook, I think this question in the chat, I think you would have a better time explaining it than me.
How come you play in a Arena Commander? It's smoother than PTU.
Yeah.
Basically, the computer on the back end, the server you're communicating with, is handling a lot larger area, a lot more AI, a lot more players. Just simple as that. Like it's working at a higher load on that overall universe, tracking more items. Every medical pin that someone drops, every mission crate, every piece of debris that falls out of someone's ship. You know, every time I throw a water bottle into space. Whereas in Arena Commander, you don't have that. It starts fresh every single time. We have persistence every single time. PU and PTU always be a bit more clunky than Arena Commander.
Yeah.
Just, there's no way around that.
And that was a good question, Brian.
It was.
That was a very good question.
There's a lot of new players out there that you know, they don't understand a lot of that yet. So it's important to answer questions like that whenever possible. So yeah. All right. Well, Zook, how about your final thoughts here?
Thanks, Joe. I like where they're going with the villages. I like where they're heading with it. I like that they're in a very much a palette mode. They're making it where they can build in their Rapstar tool bases, cities, outposts, stations. It definitely feels like they're doing it right. And as we said before, the snowballing effect, we're still seeing that here. And again, I want to reiterate, the first time we've seen these, they already have the palette done, and they're already bringing them into the game in 3.20. Right, they're not far away. And they're not bringing in one, and then the next patch, they're bringing in 30. You know, version 1, here's 15. Right? So that's very, very encouraging. One thing I'm concerned with is I want and we need gameplay for these outposts really soon.
Yeah.
Because if we don't have gameplay for these outposts, significant gameplay for these outposts, Pyro is going to be a very deadly but boring place.
Yeah, just like
Just straight up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So we need gameplay, and they talked about, as you mentioned, things they could do, making harvest tools, maybe trading with people there, but they always had. I didn't think about that before you mentioned it. They always had that sort of pie in the sky wording, as if it was coming from Chris Roberts.
Yeah.
And that makes me a bit more nervous. I'm not going.
Well, so
but
with crafting, so they're thinking about crafting right now and how they can implement more of that into the game, and that's now. So, and then also, what are we getting with 320? More of the cargo refactor, which means the whole C, which means more commodity updates, more, with that coupled with crafting, more crafting on the way. With it's like you said, the snowballing effect. Things are the game loops are finally coming full circle here, and it really does seem like they're in a better position to be able to give us more.
But again, I don't see, and it's not because I'm expecting to see something, I'm not seeing it. I don't think we would have any expectation of seeing it yet, but I'm still not seeing that gameplay for these villages right now.
My point,
and
not right now, but I really think it's around the corner. I think,
and I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
With the addition of the item and detaching and the mining and consumable updates and all this stuff, this patch right here that we just got, 3.19, or about to get, that really does open up the possibilities for what they can do after, which is pretty much, we're starting to see things that we've really been wanting, the start of all of that. And so with Pyro possibly by the end of the year, beginning of next year, I really do think that's enough time to be able to get, I mean, just think about all the major stuff coming in 320 that is going to make a huge difference. It's going to go towards that. And what are we going to see after 320? I think it's just going to get better and better.
It's supposed to be 4.0. It's after 320. Supposed to be.
We'll see. We'll see. So
we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I'm hoping Pyro does like they want, come out at the end of the year with CitizenCon or whatever.
Well, my thought on this, I really hope we get 320. I mean 4.0 just either at SitCon or just after, because there are so many people wanting it. There's so many people waiting for it.
I think if we're lucky, 4.0 early next year, like for first quarter or second quarter.
I'm just saying.
If we're lucky,
it needs to come.
I think we'll be lucky. I think we'll be doing good to get 320 by SitCon, because remember that's October, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we may get, if we're lucky, we may get 4.0 December. But I think Joe's more than likely. I think Joe's more than likely right. I think 4.0 is probably going to come early next year. But that said, I think 4.0 is going to also include, and this is just me speculating here.
It would have to come.
Heavy speculation here. I don't think necessarily server meshing. I think it would come with master modes and the new UI.
Well, that's one of their target goals, is to try to get all of that in the PU. Because Moby Glass and all of that by
that base level rework would justify, not just for server meshing, that would justify by itself going from a 3 dot something patch level to a 4 dot something.
that's the final elements, right? Like,
Yeah, it would look and feel and play like the final game
because
with the final version of the UI and the final version of the flight model. That would justify a 4.0, even if we don't get server meshing.
let's look at what's possible by the end of the year. We could possibly get the first iteration of data running, hacking, with the new data heist stuff. So possible hacking, first iteration of hacking, next iteration of bounty hunting is supposed to be coming this year at some point, maybe 320. They're making the new law offices now for it. You know,
Make it
possibly Pyro,
personal
possibly all the stuff that we talked about, the new MobiGlass UI, master modes, the new EVA
Personal
system,
personal hangers, the cargo, the rest of the cargo refactor. It's so much, you know, that we're really on the verge of. And if all of that gets in by the end of the year, we should definitely be very close to having a 4.0 sometime, you know, early next year, maybe.
Look at it like this. If we didn't have PES, okay?
We couldn't do any. We couldn't have a lot of the updates.
We wouldn't have all this stuff. No, we wouldn't have all this stuff coming.
The stuff with 319 wouldn't have happened. The item attaching and detaching wouldn't have happened without PES. And a lot of the other things that they want to do for the rest of the year that they're working on right now, if PES wasn't in, I think that's one of the biggest reasons on why we had some very dry years without much, because PES wasn't in. There was no scalability. There was no reason to put any of that stuff in yet.
I want to point out something, and if you wouldn't mind pardoning me tooting my horn for a second.
Go for it.
At the beginning of this year, I said I suspected, because we talked about our plans for this year, I suspected there was a lot of things that they would just discover that we happen to have all the stuff in place for this to function.
Yeah.
That's happening.
Oh yeah.
So there's been stuff that's been sitting in the background, maybe for years, that was largely complete, that was waiting on other things to work and other things to function, and we're seeing that.
Well,
like even 3.20 has a list of items right now, but they've talked about things that are close to being complete, but we still don't see it on that list of 320. I suspect by the time 320 comes out to PTU, not PU, PTU, I think that list will be huge. I'll probably say, I'd be willing to bet, say 4 times larger than it is now.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like we're saying. iCache failed because it didn't scale to what they wanted. Right? And without iCache or any type of platform that had the scalability of what they were trying to do, they couldn't do anything. So now with PES, the way it is scalable and they're able to bring in the things that were missing because of the blockers, it's happening.
What's the meme? It's happening now. It's happening now.
Not fully, but it's starting to show. You know.
Okay. Well, fair enough. That's what I'm looking forward to pretty much. To finish my thoughts on, because I do want to jump off that and say, going back and watching all these old videos really shows that they're still trying to build the same game they were trying to build the entire time. They haven't changed. They may have changed the scope. They haven't changed the game. I feel like.
Yeah.
Then the last thing, I'm going to have to get on to you two. Stop speaking ill of my new favorite ship. You silence your faces. The Fury is awesome.
I didn't say anything ill about
Nobody
it.
said anything
That is
bad about
that
it.
is.
All right, I'll say this:
Like,
it's the perfect ship. There's nothing wrong with it. Just like the Aurora, it'll be sitting right there, right alongside.
I have been. I have been sitting. I've been for the entirety of my video on this podcast. Thank you, by the way. I have been talking over and over and over again about a carrier ship with small fighter crafts that I'm thinking how you can make it an Aurora, how you could do it with the Merlin, how you could do it with all these other smaller ships, right? Over and cheap rentable craft.
I'm going to say this to you, Zook. You said that the first day you came onto the podcast.
Right?
Okay?
It's like they heard my words. I'm not sure they did. So this was well before me. They're like, this new guy, he's ready for this. We want his money.
Okay. Now look at it like this. We have done 20 videos together. This is number 21.
Has it been 21? Wow.
Yes.
All right.
And day one, you walked in here with that Aurora, or the Aurora, and we were gonna just rip you apart about that Aurora. But now your dream is coming true. It's coming to fruition. Be happy, smile, laugh.
Oh, I am super excited, and I'm tired of you guys putting water in my dreams.
Now go get a drink. Go get a drink. Go get a drink and celebrate.
I am over the moon excited. Like, so long as the pitch and yaw and everything rates are reasonable, they don't have to be perfect. As long as they're reasonable, this ship's going to be amazing. I like its weaknesses. I like its drawbacks. I like the forced trade that you're having to do, that you are actively choosing to enter a situation with these drawbacks. I love the fact that they're doing that kind of balance. This is exactly what I've been looking for a while. Like, and I don't see, and I didn't get into this earlier, but I don't see this as a pure Fury swarm. I see this as a Fury supporting more traditional fighter activities, right? And just them drawing fire away from a Hurricane or a Saber, for example, right? And especially when match modes comes up, when the Hurricane is in a tough situation, having these little swarmy fighters next to it to go after the light fighter, that's messing with the Hurricane. There's a lot of complex game theory that I feel like this does change the nature of combat in the PU, regardless of how it turns out. And I am over the moon excited to try it, to play with it, and to find the new strategies that come from it. I don't think any of us can really know what's going to be used for sure. Talk about the game theory part of it. I do enjoy that. But
it's going to be hard to hit.
I need to know. I need to know if I can fit this in the Corsair or the Valkyrie. That's what I really need to know.
You should be.
You can.
We'll see. I've heard that the height of the Fury is a little questionable when it comes to some ships, like we'll find out. I believe the 890 jump or the Carrack for the actual.
The Carrack is the one. The front loading area of the Carrack is one of those places where the height might come into an issue.
Yeah.
I think the Freelancer Max, I think it was wide enough for the Rover. It might be an issue as far as height. But the Valkyrie maybe. Maybe the Valkyrie, because it is pretty thin.
Yeah.
The Freelancer Max is going to have a problem because of the way that rear turret is set up. That's just how I see that.
Yeah, I think you're right. But on top of that, it's as long as the Rover, if you put a Rover in somewhere and it has at least 2 or 3 foot of clearance above it, it will fit. It might be snug, but it'll fit.
All right. Well, I'm about to have a movie night here on the Discord,
Yeah.
so I have to get out of here. So we're gonna go ahead and end this stream. It was very interesting. Watching the tutorial and kind of going over some of the exciting stuff for Star Citizen's future here. I'm very hyped for a lot of this stuff. So I think Invictus is going to be pretty interesting. But I want to thank everybody for coming into the chat and either watching with us or interacting with us in the chat. We do these every Monday and kind of go over anything relevant with Star Citizen. So again, thank you guys for being here, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Have a good one, everybody.